Welcome. Welcome to this workshop that's all about how to build positive change using the power of creative thinking. So my name's Chrissy Levett and I'm from an organisation called Creative Conscience. We're a digital platform that was started and built by a community in 2012. And we inspire, train, and reward creative thinking for social and environmental impact. So today, before we get started, I'd like to ask you a question. How many of you here in this virtual room have kids? Actually, I should reframe that. Let's change that. How many of you in the room were once a child? I think that will cover all of us, right? So I'd like you to do something for me. I'd like you to play a game if you like, and I'd like you to imagine something. And the reason why I want you to imagine something is because in order to change things, we first have to imagine something new, right? So I'd like you just to sit for a few seconds and, if necessary, close your eyes. And I'd like you to imagine what you would do or what you would change if you could change anything in the world right now. And not just the world, but maybe your world. Just think on that for a second. What would you change? Okay. So the reason I'm asking you to imagine something like a child, because when we're kids, anything is possible. And part of this workshop is trying to get you to understand and to inspire you to know that anything actually is possible. We believe that anything is possible. So using the power of creative thinking, we can and have positively changed our world. So before we start, maybe you guys should grab a pen and a piece of paper. That's all we need. We're going to have some fun a bit later on. Why we need to change the world? Well, I think that's probably pretty apparent to many of us. There's lots of things that aren't working in the world for us right now as individuals and maybe as broader society. And we want to start by sharing with you a number of tips that we've learned over the years that we've been working in this space of creativity, design, and positive social and environmental impact. So what we want you to do is, first of all, get inspired. So hopefully by now you've grabbed a pen and a piece of paper. We're going to come back to that. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you loads of proof around this idea that creativity can and will and does change the way in which we live and work and the broader society. And what we're going to show you is a number of projects, just a few of the thousands and thousands of projects that have been sent to us over the years. And at the heart of every single project has been social and environmental impact. Every single project, thousands of them. So I hope this gets you inspired. And there's some stories around some of these projects. And we've chosen some from quite a range of different creative disciplines to cover all your needs. All right, so this first project we're going to share was graphic design, or is, I should say, graphic design, tech, but really a piece of service design for social justice. And Gabriel, who did this project, is a graduate, and we speak because we're supporting him to develop this particular project. But he literally did this project from from a dorm room. You know, he wasn't in some kind of fancy studio. And the reason I say that is because I want you to try and understand what is possible. So let's run the project.
On the 14th of June 2017, a fire broke out in Grenfell Tower, West London, and took the lives of 72 people. This tragedy, a consequence of a dysfunctional social housing management system, was preventable. Concerns were raised, concerns were ignored, people's lives were neglected. We have a system that takes 8 months on average for a concern to be investigated. We have a system that leads 48% of families who reported an issue to feel ignored. We have a system that forces 1 in 10 people to raise a concern more than 10 times for it to be resolved. The truth is, we have a system that allows many communities living in social homes to be neglected. And while the same system is now dealing with a national housing crisis, we need to make sure that our existing social houses are not forgotten. We need local authorities to be kept accountable for their social housing management. Residents need to be empowered. And our way to do this is through information. It's called Oikos. If we look at the current process to raise a concern, it starts with residents connecting to the local authority's website and entering the information about the concern. This information, which should be available to all, disappears from the public eye and ends up only with the local authority, creating a fertile ground for unaccountability on their behalf. Oikos is here to reclaim this information and make it as impactful as possible. Let's take a look at a new process to raise a concern, where this time residents connect to the Oikos platform. All they have to do is fill in a form, just like they would on the local authority's website. But our platform does more than just communicate this information to the authority. We start by enriching it with associated claims and regulations. We further repackage the data to feed it back to the next residents who want to raise a concern, allowing them to see what issues were previously raised across the area. It helps them build stronger cases by amassing voices with similar issues while protecting the identity of residents and keeping each data point anonymous. This information will also be used to build local reports of the social housing management condition in the area. By presenting information such as the total concerns raised during different periods of time, or the buildings with the most concerns, we can determine the effectiveness of each local authority's management, as well as identify buildings and homes at risk of being a danger for residents. Oikos then sends these reports to independent housing organizations that could support residents and bring more attention to a situation when needed. Finally, Oikos is also here to support improvement. We will invite local authorities to be part of the conversation and give them new and insightful data that could help them improve certain aspects of their system. The need for this platform is now urgent. 5 million households have experienced a problem with their home in the last 3 years. More than half of social tenants say they don't trust the government to keep them safe in their homes. For all these people, we have created Oikos to empower social housing residents.
I'd just like to share something with you about that project. Like Gabrielle is an amazing young designer, but we might feel disconnected to the people in these housing situations. But my flat, our flat here in London is leased by the local authority, and we had some issues a number of years ago which went on past the 8 months where the response rate was. And when I looked to get some kind of legal support from various different organizations that are supposed to look out for people, by the time that I'd got a response and all the paperwork had been put together and I'd had meetings and all sorts of things like that, I was told by this governing body that I was too late because all complaints had to be done within a set period of time. Now, there was no way that that was going to work because I couldn't have gone through that process. So basically, I was left absolutely powerless to do anything about the situation. And so there was no accountability at all. And I think that this is what we can change. We can do projects like this, like Gabriel's. He did this from a dorm room. And it's a really powerful idea, and this project is being developed. So let's support these ideas. Let's be in action, and let's think about how each of us can create change, even if it is from a dorm room or our back bedroom. So this next project was done by an amazing young woman called Jam, who is one of our community. We're very grateful that we're still in connection with Jam. And it was a graphics design tech and comms project. But Jam's story actually was she had started at Ravensbourne University as I think, film production student on an MA course. And early on and during her time there, she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Now, for Jam, hoiking around heavy film equipment was no longer going to be an option. But that didn't stop her creating amazing stuff while she was studying. And she launched this site, this platform called You Look Okay to Me, that was drawing attention to the millions of people here in the UK that suffer from chronic pain, but they look okay. They are not on our radar. And Jam and I actually had a conversation yesterday because she's helping us out with something. And she has now, I looked on her Instagram feed, she's got 16,000 followers. She is working for BBC Africa, and this project has been created really from her own room, if you like. And it's just an example of the really powerful things that we can do against the things that we really care about. Here's another project. This is an architecture interior design project, and it was done for the community by Naomi. And Naomi is a recent graduate from Dundee, and the project was really designed as a community space, a hub for children. And the idea was really to set off and change the amount of child poverty that is going on within our society right now. But what is absolutely amazing about this particular project was that Naomi did this project during lockdown. Not only that, but she's a mother with 2 boys, I believe, under 5. So imagine working from home, studying full-time, having 2 small boys that you're having to educate, look after during this current situation, and yet you can still create amazing, positive, creative design and work that really can impact society. This is an urban environment project that was created by Lawrence, and Lawrence is again working from home in a makeshift workshop in his back garden, But this project was built to encourage plants and insect life back into urban environments. And what is so brilliant for us with this project by Lawrence is that it's an open source project. So he has designed a system that anyone can download the tool, not download the tools, but download the process to create these blocks themselves within their own environment. It's just a brilliant, brilliant project. And we are planning to work with Lawrence to get this project moved forward and out there into the world. So thank you, Lawrence. It's absolutely amazing. This is a jewellery design project, and we wanted to include it really as a piece of diversity against all the different design projects that we've previously shown you. And actually, Honglin was a design subject. You know, this jewellery wasn't their particular subject. They were studying graphics. But I think it's just a brilliant illustration of how we can shift from one thing that we do or that we're trained in into another. And every piece of these beautifully designed and engaging items are made from rubbish. So not only are they clever and engaging, but as a piece of jewelry, as a crafted piece of design, they are raising awareness for what's going on in the world, for what's not working in our world right now. So I hope those projects have started to inspire you. We want to get into the actual workshop part of this and give you some tips and tricks on how you might go about creating positive change from the comfort of your own home. And again, this is just the start of a process, but we've done this many, many times and it is lots of fun. So what we want you to do is grab a piece of paper and a pen. And we're going to start by getting you to connect with what you most love in the world. So I'd like you to sit for a second, and actually I'm probably going to time this process so we can do it real time. Get my clock up, reset. So I'm just going to give you, maybe let's just give you 30 seconds to write a list of all the things that you most love doing in the world. So when I talk about love, it could be the things that you're most passionate about. It might be that you're into sport or you have a hobby. You might really love the work that you do. It might be that you simply love chocolate, like I do. Actually, I'm quite addicted to it, which is sort of sad. It might be music. It might be that you love watching TV or Netflix, or it might be anything. Try to keep it clean, although I have to tell you, we have done this and porn has been on a list for someone, and we did come up with some positive ideas about what we could do around that. So just write anything you like. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. So I'm hoping that all of you will have a nice long list of the things that you just simply love doing. From a sport, a hobby, to watching documentaries. So the next thing that we want you to do is go back to the beginning of this conversation. I want you to think about the thing that you wanted to change in the world. So for me, when I imagined what I wanted to do, it was around education and education systems and you know, environmental sort of planetary stuff. That was my thought, which is quite a big thought, but you might have thought something really sort of quite small, like the fact that some people in your home don't pick up their stuff or do their washing up or leave the lights on, or it could be a big thing. Like I mentioned, it could be something like plastic pollution. So it doesn't matter how big or small the things are, but what we want you to do is now write another list about all the complaints that you have in your life. Doesn't matter how big or small. And I know for a fact that you people have complaints. We all do, right? We all complain about something. So here's the opportunity to make a list. So I'm going to time you again. And I want you to write down your complaints. We're going to give you about a minute for this also. And it, again, it just doesn't matter how short, how long those complaints are, big, small, just write them down. How are we doing, people? We've got another 15 seconds left. Get those complaints down, people. Okay, 3, 2, 1, stop. All right, well, we're hoping that you've at least got 5 things on each of your lists, got 5 things that you love to do, and 5 things that are nagging complaints in your life. And when we've done these workshops before, I don't think we've ever had someone who hasn't had any complaints or any things that they love to do. So well done, and thank you for showing up and being in the room and engaging with this particular process. So now it starts to get interesting. What we'd like you to do is take those 2 lists and put them next to each other so you can see them in your field of vision. And we want you just to sit for a minute and think about how you might mash those 2 things together. So I'll give you a kind of an example, if you like. A lot of the projects that we showed you before we started this fun workshop were examples of where people had taken something they love, like Hong Lin with the jewelry, the idea of making jewelry, the idea of making something, and then mashing it together with the injustice and the sadness around the amount of plastic and pollution and rubbish that we have. So that's a really simple example of that. But when you start noticing all those projects that we showed you, so the one that we kicked off with at the very beginning of this, the Anthem project, was all about fast fashion. So fast fashion, you may or may not know, is the 2nd largest polluter on the planet. And so Kevin, who did that project, took the idea of, instead of throwing clothes away and those clothes going into landfill, that you could cut them up and stitch them together and repurpose them into a really fabulous and unique collection of fashion designs. So this is why we want you to start thinking, if you feel engaged, if you feel like you want to make a difference in the world and change things using creative thinking, this is a really good way to start. And the reason we start with, if I go back to the passion part of it, is because if you work on something that you are passionate about, you are so much more likely to succeed. It's absolutely proven. So now, I hope that will make sense to you. What we want you to do is just sit, and again, I'm just going to give you, let's give you a couple of minutes to think about how you can take the two lists and pull them together and come up with some possible thoughts or ideas about what you might be able to create yourselves as individuals or even as a community. Okay, let's set the timer, reset. Let's go. I just want to remind you that while you're doing this, that no idea is a bad idea. Like, be as outrageous or as bonkers as you could possibly be. Don't worry if it feels in that moment like it's a mad idea. Mad ideas are great. It might actually give us some clues that you're an entrepreneur of some sort. So don't hold back. I'll give you some thoughts while you're thinking. So if you were really into something like hardcore hip hop music, but you were really upset about social injustice or pollution or anything really, there's no reason why you couldn't then take that idea of and your love of hip hop music, work with other people, create a piece of work that it within the lyrics is raising awareness, like a campaign almost, against the issue that you're not into. And then with the way things work today, that could be filmed, recorded, edited, and put out into the world, all from the comfort of your own home. And if you could say, well, I don't know the people, I haven't got the abilities and the skills to create a piece of music, then you can reach out through the internet and find the people that you need to make this stuff happen. So really, anything is possible within this kind of realm of using creativity against issues and against the things that you are most passionate about. Okay. I'm going to stop you there. That was only about 2.5 minutes. It's a really small amount of time. But the idea with this workshop is that you can take this tool, if you like, and, you know, start doing things outside this particular moment and play with it and think about that. Okay, so the idea comes from the two opposite thoughts, and then you can create change. So in order to make change, you absolutely have to take action. Nothing happens if it sits inside your brain, if you're just thinking in your head about ideas. People have ideas all the time, amazing ideas all the time. But unless you take action, nothing will ever happen, right? So it's utterly important that if you want to do something, you take the steps and move and create. And I want to share this story with you, and some of you, I don't know, might have heard this before. We did a TEDx speech a number of years ago, and spoke about Eleanor and this amazing project. So Eleanor created this graphic novel. It was all done on a Wacom pad, so digitally. It was 166 pages, this graphic novel. It was beautiful. It was around the issues of teenage suicide and bullying. And what was really, I suppose, poignant within this workshop is that it came from Eleanor's own personal story of being bullied as a girl. Eleanor sent us this project a number of years ago. It was a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. And she ended up coming in and working at the agency that I was at the time. The project was launched onto an anti-bullying site, and Eleanor's project received millions upon millions of hits. What's really, really interesting also for us about this project was when we met Eleanor at our awards event, she told us that she was going to give up doing illustration and animation because she couldn't see a future in it and she didn't think it was for her. Not only did Eleanor's project receive millions of hits, she also personally received messages from young people all over the world telling her that her project had stopped negative behaviours like self-harm and even in some instances had saved lives. Really powerful, right? Eleanor went on to create yet another graphic novel. This time it was all about dementia. And again, this had come from her own personal experience. Her grandfather was suffering from dementia when she started to build this project. And I hope you'll agree that the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. And both of these now books have been published and are sold in the National Museum in Bucharest. All because Eleanor took her love of illustration, animation, and mashed it together with things that she wasn't happy about in the world. In fact, her world. In order to create really positive and scaled, tangible change in the world, we all have to get our heads around this idea of collaborating. Now, that might be on a very, very small scale, or it might be on a massive scale. It might be that you reach out and you are part of a bigger community and you know that you can engage and inspire and get people on board with something that's really meaningful to you or the world around you. Or it might be that you just join forces with a friend, or you reach out to someone on Instagram who is a musician or a rap artist, and they're willing because they believe in what you're doing and they're willing to help and bring a project to life. So remember, collaboration is absolutely key in all the things really that we do in life if we want to build impact. What's that expression? Is it, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. I'm not sure where that originally came from. I have a feeling that it's an old African proverb, but I might have that completely wrong, so forgive me if I have. If you're interested in collaborating on any ideas that you have, please do reach out to us as an organisation. We're here to help and support anyone who has creative ideas, that wants to make a difference in the world, you can find us on all the regular social media sites like Twitter and Instagram and FaceAche, as I call it. But also, if you write to us at hello@, I promise you, I guarantee that someone will get back to you. So yeah, get in touch if you think we can help you in any way. So let's just have a quick recap on some tips and tricks that you might want to get started. So first of all, get inspired by the things around you. Well, you hopefully you have been doing that, being involved with this particular workshop and other things that are going on. Do what you love. It's absolutely vital that if you're working on a side hustle or a project, that you stick with things that you're really passionate about, because you're more likely to be successful. And then mash those things together with your complaints. So what is it, again, what is it that isn't working in your life? And then what can you do about it? And there's so many fun solutions. I'm absolutely convinced about it. We've shown you examples of fun solutions. And then take action. I know it's a real cliche, but actions do speak louder than words. So get off your bottoms and get out there. And then the last thing is collaborate. Please, please share your ideas, collaborate. Don't live in a place of fear. Do you know what? The amount of projects that have been sent our way, and we want to work with people to make those projects into a reality. And then you'll get someone who says, well, I don't want to share it with anyone because I'm really worried that they're going to steal my idea. Okay. And then you might get in touch with them, or they might come and get in touch with us in the future, and you go, oh yeah, how's your project going? And they go, well, actually, it's not really got anywhere. Cool, surprise. Share, collaborate, it's fun, and it means that you can definitely create more impact. I want to leave you with this thought, especially during these rather strange times. And there's an amazing economist called Paul Romer, a Stanford economist, who said, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. It's true, right? There are all sorts of things going on, and we can learn by all those things, and we can absolutely create positive change if we take action. So let's not waste this time. Let's not waste this opportunity for us to learn and create something new. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being engaged with design, with creativity, and this idea of environmental and social impact. Take care, and I hope that we get to see you soon. Bye.